Thank you for being patient. All right. So, I was a blank growing up. I want to see if you can guess this one too. I'll give you a little bit of hints. Mozart was one, and we also talked about Mendelssohn being considered one early on in his career. We talked about people said, "Oh, he's a blank. He's very good for a young age," and then he ended up not because he didn't really fit that word because his parents didn't support his music work. But the word we're looking for, if you've got it, high five yourself, is prodigy. So I will just give you a quick reminder of what that means if you need it. A prodigy is someone who displays professional skills being very young. So we talked about Mozart being a prodigy, right? Composing symphonies at the age of 9, wrote his first piece of music at the age of 5. So that's pretty impressive. So that would be a prodigy. And Elton John was a prodigy. Well, he was a prodigy. Now he's a grown man. Definitely was a prodigy. There's a scene from a movie about him. I do not recommend that you all watch this movie unless your parents have already told you that you can. It is a little grown up, so I would suggest waiting. But there's a scene that I'm going to show you. I have a clip of it there that your parents can watch before you if they would like to. But it is it's a very good depiction of how talented he was and how talented he is. He auditioned for a school to be part of a musical school in London when he was a kid. And he walked in, and the person that was going to be auditioning him was playing a piece. I don't remember what piece it was in the top of my head. I'll have to watch it again just to make sure, but it's a very famous piece. A lot of you will recognize it, but he had never heard it. And when he came in for his audition, he listened to this person play, and then he came in and sat down to play his piece. I don't think he had prepared anything for this audition, but she said, play what you can, play a piece or whatever. He sat down and he played exactly what she played, and then stopped. Okay, the reason I'm explaining this is because I don't know if you'll necessarily get it from the scene, but he stops playing, and she says, "Why did you stop?" And he says, "Because that's where you stopped." And just in case this doesn't make complete sense to you, what basically happened was he heard what she played and was able to sit down and play it immediately like that. He hadn't prepared it. The reason he stopped there is because that's where she stopped, and he doesn't know anything past that point. So that's one reason you could classify him as a prodigy. Because if you hear something, like if I played a Mozart piece for you right now and you could go sit at the piano and play it 100% exactly the way you heard it, I would say you're a prodigy. That takes a lot, for sure. Okay? All right. So, moving on. When it comes to writing music, I'm one of the best. But the part that was hard for me were the blank. If you have a guess, go ahead and guess out loud, and then if you're right, you can high five yourself. I would love to hear if you got any of these right. So sad to not actually get to teach you in person, because then I get to know like if you guys like what I'm talking about or anything like that. All right. The part that was hard for him was the lyrics. And those of you that remember from us working on songs for our Christmas step, the lyrics are the words. Okay, so he was a beautiful pianist, but writing the words was difficult for him. So actually the way he really got started out performing was he was a pianist in a lot of traveling blues bands. So if any of the blues groups that came over from the United States were traveling in Europe, he would travel with them and play piano for them, so that the band wouldn't have to pay for a flight for the pianist or the drummer or anything back from America to Europe. They would just hire someone over there to play, and he was very good at that. He played a lot. Sorry, I just realized you can't see because of the glare. There you go. he played a lot with blues bands and stuff when they came from the United States. So that's really how he got started there with performing. So when he first started out, okay, and still now even, another person would mail him the words, and I would put music to them. Okay, so when I first started out, another person would mail me my words, and I would put music to them. He became my best friend and my partner, so his business partner. All right, and that man is Bernie Taupin was his name. Is his name. He's still alive as well and very talented. So Bernie Taupin has written the lyrics to all of the Elton John songs. They worked together. When they started out, they didn't know each other very well. What would happen was Bernie would write down the words on paper, and then he would mail them to Elton. And Elton would, I think he was still Reginald at this point though, Reginald Kenneth. So he would write the words and he would mail them to Elton John. There was no texting or anything back then. This is like the 60s. And then Elton would write the music. And there are actually some songs that he wrote the music to in like an hour. Like he literally sat down, read the words, wrote the music. And that's pretty fast in the music world. Typically it'll take much longer for that to happen. So that was awesome. So Bernie Taupin, anytime that, we've talked about this a little bit before, that songwriters are compensated as well for their work, right? So if you write a song with someone, they're going to get the same credit. So like we talked about with Dolly Parton, right? So we talked about Dolly Parton wrote I Will Always Love You, and then when Whitney Houston asked to sing it, then Dolly Parton was also getting some of the money from Whitney Houston singing it because she had written the song. So here's the same thing here. Bernie wrote the lyrics, Elton wrote the words, and Elton performed it. But every time Elton makes money, Bernie makes money from that, from the sale of his music. And every time Elton wins a Grammy, Bernie wins a Grammy with him because they're partners. One person writes the lyrics and one person writes the music. So it's really cool. All right. Together, we have sold more than, I'm going to make this a surprise because I think you'll be pretty excited about this number. You can be yelling out guesses too. Kind of want to know what you guys think. It may surprise you. Okay, together we have sold more than 300 million. 300 million albums. It's pretty impressive. That is a lot of albums. I'd have to look up and see if that's broken any records or anything. The only people that I can think maybe have sold more than that, there are a couple, but one that I know probably for sure has is the Beatles. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to look it up for you guys, but that is a lot. That is a lot of albums to sell. They've been very successful. I have had, let me just back up for a second and make sure we're on the same page. So I'm going to start at the beginning of this paragraph just to make sure you're at the right spot, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so it says, I'm just going to keep this over here just in case you're still copying it. When it comes to writing music, I am one of the best, but the part that was hard for me were the lyrics. So when I first started out, another person would mail me words, and I would put them to music. He became my best friend and my partner. That man is Bernie Taupin. Together we have sold more than 300 million albums. I have had more than 50 songs. 50 songs on the Billboard Top 40. So we've talked about the Top 100 before. There's also the Top 40. And this is kind of more of an exclusive list than the Top 100. I mean, especially because they're only including 40 songs. So this is pretty impressive. 50 songs out of all the songs he's recorded have made it on the Top 40 list. Okay. I have received 8 Grammys. It's pretty good. 8 Grammys. The next part that's going to be coming up, I think, is what's going to be really exciting for you. I think you'll like this. And you might not know it, which is going to be really cool. All right. So that's 8 Grammys. 50 songs on the top 40 and 300 million records sold. That's crazy. All right. He has also won. Let me just read this sentence for you so you don't get lost. Okay. I have had more than 50 songs on the Billboard Top 40. I have received 8 Grammys and 2 Oscars. Just in case you don't know what an Oscar is, we've talked about this. It is basically the Grammys for movies. Okay. Now you might be, okay, Miss Hockaday, what movies has he been in? No. The Oscars that he has won have been for original song written for a movie. So if you've seen Frozen, for example, back when the first Frozen came out, Frozen was nominated for Best Original Song because Let It Go was written for the movie, okay? Because sometimes you'll hear some of your favorite songs in a movie, right? But that song wasn't written for it. Let It Go was written for the movie Frozen. So that's how it was nominated in the Oscars, because it relates to the movies. If that doesn't make sense, let me know and I can explain it better. So he's won 2 Oscars. One for, this is the part I think you're excited about. I want to hear if anybody thinks they know. Say out now. Tell me, email me, tell me if you got it right. I'd love to know. One of them is for Lion King. He wrote the music for Lion King. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. He wrote songs such as Circle of Light, Life, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I don't remember which song this was for. Let me Google it. Okay? But I'll write the second one down and then I'll Google it so that you can be writing at the same time. Okay, so Lion King. And then the second one he actually just won this year in the 2020 Oscars for the movie Rocket Man. Okay, now Rocket Man, again, like I said, I do not